Hello, and welcome back to my channel. I want to take this opportunity to share with you another tip. I wasn't sure how to go about doing this, but I figured let me do it live because I wasn't sure what the timing, how long the tip will in sharing would be. So I want to be able to take this opportunity to share this tip with you. And viewers, if you're not a Christian, I'm not going to hold this tip against you. And it's my channel is sharing information in a faith-based way. And so whatever you hear me share will be faith-based. And I am not condoning anyone in their beliefs. And if you choose not to believe, that's fine. But I'm still going to share on this channel for those who are willing to hear. And so I could only just pray that the Lord will touch your heart if you choose to listen. So, in that in mind, I wanted to share with you a tip inspired by Psalm 34, verse 8. It is a verse that I have is one of the verses that I've had my children learn, um, especially my son, whom is home with me most of the time now because he is in a homebound program. While my daughter still goes to school. Um, but I love this verse because it says, "Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man that trusteth in him." And I wanted to share with you a tip based on this verse in the mindset of neurodivergent and neurotypical individuals. And also on the mindset of parents who are raising children on the spectrum and those on the spectrum living with these disabilities. So it's a whole realm of level that I am reaching out um, this morning. So to those in who are in a different time zone where it's morning, good morning. Those who are in the afternoon setting time zone, good afternoon. And those who are in the evening time zone, good evening. And so I hope this video, this live stream will be a blessing to you as you hear. So again, this tip is inspired by Psalm 34, verse 8, and is actually one of the meditation verses that I shared with my children, especially my son. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man that trusted in him. And you can look at it in a literal way of thinking and also a figurative way of thinking. In their way of thinking, they they do have the tendency to think both, but I think more literally literal than figurative. Excuse me. So the tip here is to engage all the senses when learning about God's goodness. We know the senses are hearing, um, seeing, smelling, tasting, and touching. Excuse me. When my son was, now I'll share an experience, my testimony in terms of learning about my child's experience. I mean, his diagnosis. That the first thing that he learned in language was, of course, body language, but I was able to incorporate that first with sign language. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with sign language or have learned sign language, but sign language is very good. It's very commonly used in the neuro. the Virgin world. It's a first language that is learned in public schools, and probably also in private schools too. And it's a good language to learn in introducing to a neurodivergent child who maybe cannot speak, um, where they are able to see, um, if they have a device where they're able to learn the imagery of the signs. So for example, bathroom. These are the common signs: bathroom, eat, drink. These are part of their everyday, daily living skill, vocabulary that they have to know. Um, and also learn the emotions too, knowing what sad looks like or knowing what happy looks like. And so these are all signs that they have to learn too. I can remember when, let me see, I'm trying to remember if in watching a document, a, a the movie that they did with Temple Grandin, if they incorporated any signs in it, and I don't recall. I don't think I recall any of that portrayed. But it's not to say that she wasn't introduced, just like others on the spectrum. And it's a very, very good way of introducing another form of language to help in encouraging vocabulary, for a child who is maybe nonverbal, where they can learn the word drink, learn the word eat, and so that's still communicating to the brain, uh, and they'll be able to grasp that as long as you keep repeating it over and over, and also let them see it as well. And this, to me, is a goodness of the Lord, being able to see with their eyes, um, vocabulary that is in pictures and in gestures. Um, Being able to go outside to smell the fresh air, or the flowers, um, and to see different shapes in nature. That's a goodness of the Lord, because He created that in through His creation, 7 days of creation. And so here's a tip you can share, that I would like to share with you, that speaks to both neurodivergent and neurotypical individuals. And the tip again is engage all the senses when learning about God's goodness. Taste and see reminds us that God's goodness isn't just something we hear about, it's something we experience. For neurodivergent children and those on the spectrum, learning, learning and learning and faith grow best when we bring truth to life through sensory experiences and concrete examples. And I'm going to later on share with you those concrete examples and some sensory experiences that I have experienced on my own. And if you like to share any of your experiences in the chat, in the chat boxes, please do so if you are free and willing to do so. Okay, going through my notes here. So for neurodivergent children and those on the spectrum, learning and faith grow best when we life, bring truth to life through sensory experiences and concrete examples, whether it's through storytelling, nature walks, music, or daily blessings like a favorite meal or a kind word. Help them taste and see that God is good in real, practical ways. then gently guide them to understand that these physical blessings are also symbols, figurative language of deeper spiritual truths that God cares, provides, and wants them to be close. And so I'm just looking at my notes here to see if I jot down any examples that I wanted to share with you. And yes, there are examples that I like to share, and that is food blessings. The concrete, everyday examples can be number one, food blessings. Make to help a child or teen literally taste and see that the Lord is good. Concrete, everyday examples can be food blessings. For one, make a favorite meal and say, "This delicious food is a gift from God," a reminder that He gives us good things. Now, I can recall when I wanted to break away my daughter's eating, instant cereal, instant oatmeal. She used to love eating uh, instant oatmeal. You know that instant Quaker oatmeal? She would love to want it every day for breakfast. And gradually, her taste for it gradually diminished, where she was able to um, accept me wanting to give her something else. I was I was introduced to millet, even though I've heard of millet before, but I was reintroduced to it to make millet cereal. I was able to, and because I am of uh, I'm a African American descent, um, and I am familiar with my family in the Caribbeans. They would cook a certain way, especially cereal, a different way, and it would taste very good. And so I use incorporated millet into blending for her as a cereal. And there are, if you go online, there are different recipes and how to make millet cereal, and you can add your form of sweetness to it. I like to use organic coconut condensed milk, a little bit of that because that helps with the little sweetness. You can also try mock sweetener. uh, um, there are other alternative than just using white sugar, which that is refined sugar, and that you want to try to stay away from. And so that takes time. It's slow process. You can parents, whoever is watching this video, you can test it out, test and see that the Lord is good, with knowing other options there are in making your favorite child's cereal, or anything of that matter. Just substituting something else that may be better for them than the refined sugar, the casein, the dyes that is in our foods, um, to get them out of that habit of wanting that, and to help them to see that there could be something better than those foods that have the dye, the refined sugar. And so we can taste and see that the Lord is good by alternating other things that we know that can be better for them. And so I hope that that was cleared. I hope I was able to clear that up in a way that for you to understand. Another thing can be nature walks. We can go outside and say, see that bright sun, or feel the soft breeze. And that could be a form of introducing small talk, conversation, know how the sun came about, um, n- know a little bit of science of what the sun is. It's a large atom that is hot and energy. That's could be a lesson um, built in talking about the sun, and also the breeze. And for those who are Christians, you can take that into a more deeper meaning for them. Um, that Jesus is the light of the world, just like the sun is bright, and He gives us His Spirit, uh, which is like cool breeze. As we look in the book of Genesis, He gave breath to man to live, and we can relate that to soft breeze. It's like fresh air. When we have the purpose, we see that purpose because God gave us breath through His Son for us to live. uh, Another thing that we can show God's kindness in the world that He made is, I can remember a memory when when my children were younger, and I would take them outside, and I we would be standing next to a. I remember standing next to a tree, and and I also remember learning of a devotional that I was able to share with them based on Psalm 123, which says, and I'll read it from my Bible here. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. And so, um, verse 3 actually, all three verses actually became a small talk that I was able to think upon, meditate with them, um, to help them to see that even though they're not trees, they're humans, they're individuals that were created by God, that they have parts of their body that they can hear, they can see, they can smell, they can taste, they can touch. Even though a tree cannot really do that because they don't have the physical movements. But if you look at a tree and the parts of a tree that makes it a tree, it makes it special because when it's planted, it's has seeds. It spreads out like roots. It has roots that grow down the ground. It's grounded. It grows, has a trunk, and so the roots are like our feet that I would explain to them. The body, the trunk of the tree is like our body, and the branches that sprout out from the tree is our like our arms, and the um, you know the small branches that come out, the twigs, the leaves, they're like our fingers. And so I would match who they are, who I who they are, and what parts of their bodies they have to appreciate, that they can also appreciate an object such as a tree. And so I I like how Psalm chapter 1 verse 1 through 3 um, uh, reads, so that you can be able to, for a simple child to understand um, the descriptions, the against the figurative, deeper meaning of what it means to be human, what it means to have these special features that God gave us, just like He has given those special features for a tree to grow and to bear fruit. And that bearing fruit to me is a character building, and and um, and neurodivergent, even neurotypical, no matter whatever, can build better, can build characters in knowing God if they choose to, if they have that connection or not. And I have seen that, I have witnessed that already here in on social media through YouTube. I've been able to interact a little bit, and I have experienced some no's and some yeses, to see where they're at. And in my other tip that I shared, that's what I'm basically doing as I am continuing my journey here on YouTube, is to follow Jesus's methods, and that is to mingle with as many people, other YouTubers who have who are talking about autism, to see where they're at, because I'm not going to force anyone in what they choose not to believe. And so it's up to, all I am doing is sharing what I know in a way that can be in a gentle and loving way, and you make the decision. You make the decision, and God will do the rest. Another concrete example, everyday example, would be um, answer to prayer. Now, I don't know how many of you, thank you, viewers. I think I have, I think, 557 already subscribers, new versus those who have been returning. Thank you so much for your support to this channel. And I um, want you to be able to see, I do have a playlist, and I'll try to see if I can connect that to one of the videos that you would hear my son reading a verse, and he would be singing, and then he would end with a prayer, and it would be a benediction prayer, um, which I don't remember exactly where it's from, but I will share it in the description. And I will try to share the link to you, so that you can see him singing, see him reading, and seeing him praying. And this would be a pray. This is a prayer that he would say every single day. There's also another prayer that he would say as well. But the first prayer that I ever taught him, and this is another tip that I'm going to add. The first prayer that I taught him was the Lord's Prayer. And I believe that should be the first prayer that we should teach our children, to let them know that they do have a Father in heaven who loved them very much, and will continue to do so. And then when I taught him that prayer, I can remember where it says, um, the Lord, where is it? Now I'm going to have to say it. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory. Amen. And in that prayer, where it says, "Give me thy daily bread," I can remember when he was younger, he would, figuratively speaking, said, "Where's my bread?" Meaning that he was hungry for bread. That he took that literal prayer, figuratively speaking, that he wanted bread. And so, it's a beautiful thing when you give something literal and they take it and can be able to associate it in a figuratively way. Another thing wanted to share about prayer is that even for finding a missing object, whether it's a toy pertaining to a younger child or in a teen, they can't find their let's see, they can't find their book or organizer or a backpack or a headphone or phone if they have one, or let's see what else. Or anything that is of important to them as teenagers, have things important just like we all do. Um, and and even for an adult, if they can't find anything, uh, you can say you just tasted God's promises. You just tasted God's goodness. He cares about you, and as if you pray and say, if you can't find anything, and this has happened to me several occasions when I can't find my key, I would say, "Oh Lord, you have greater eyes than me. Please help me to find where my keys are." And you just take your time, you be calm about it, and you trace your steps, and to see if you can remember where you last put whatever you have lost and cannot find. And you know what? After you pray, I tell you, it works. As you remain calm and you uh, be grounded in less self-regulating your anxiety, the Lord will help you to find whatever you're missing. And I tell you, it works. It definitely works. So if you believe in prayer, um, please let that be a part of your regular routine. And it will also reduce anxiety as well once we continue to practice it. Another concrete everyday example would be kind acts. When someone does something loving, say that kindness is a way we can see God's goodness through people. And I try to do that for my children and let them know that there are people who do care, even when they may see people that may not. Um, I don't know what the population of this world is, and I haven't checked before coming on here, but it's a lot of people. And there are people that are have their eyes open to certain things, and they see how the world is. And um and they know that God, there are those who believe in God. They know that there are goodness in people, who are who who care enough to want to do something, uh, and make a difference in the world. Another thing is sensory support. If a child finds comfort in a weighted blanket or common music, connect it by saying, "God gave us tools to help us feel safe." That's His goodness in action. And I can remember, when we used to, where I live, there was a hurricane. We have gone through several hurricanes, and where we would have no light, and I would try ways of um, of helping them, helping both my children. As one, my son is more severely high functioning autistic than my daughter is, and she has oppositional defiant, which even in that self too is a way of learning how to help her to see things in differently, and to be able to also work in a way that she can remain calm. And it's not easy, but it is challenging, and it is promising too when you see the effort being done, um, both in yourself and also in your child. For sensory support, I'm also going to add not just weighted blankets or calming music, um, but if you know songs by heart, that could also help. Um, if you have a recorder, because I know in certain places where there are disasters and there's may not be any electricity. I'm thinking of having a recorder where you can pre-record music, so that you can just play it. Um, we have that device on our phone by using voice memo. Um, let's see, that's here, which I don't know how many of us are familiar with voice memo, where this icon here, this app, that's voice memo, where you can record a few favorite songs that your loved one on the spectrum or not on the spectrum um, loves to hear. And that could be a way of calming, calming them down. If you are a type of person that still have a tape recorder, you could also do that as well. See, trying to think what else for sensory support. Um, there, there's special toy, could be a fidget toy, which those are also good to have. Um, Stuffed animals are also good. Um, I've seen where you can have a sensory pad. Uh, that could be something to look into as well for sensory support. Um, and if you are into artwork, that's another way of calming one's down. If you have that talent for art and for just doing other things with your hand, taste and see that the Lord is good, because we did talk about our sense of touch, being able to make something with our hands, can be a sensory input. Um, Being able to create something together uh, could also be writing if you like to write, journaling, uh, role playing, playing games. These are all good sensory support things that we can give our children to help them to know that God's goodness, if we're being used by Him, they can see the goodness in our actions. Now, I want to share a spiritual, figurative understanding of this tip. Once they've experienced the physical examples, you can can guide the child to understand the figurative meaning. Just like we taste sweet food or see light, we can experience God's love even when we can't touch it. That's what taste and see means, to notice and feel God's love around us. I want to share some Bible characters with excuse me, with some disabilities, form of disabilities or limitations who experience God's goodness. And that is in 2 Samuel chapter 9, Mephibosheth. And I had created a song with these characters through the app Suno, which you've heard my son sing one time. And I've also played it for you. So I'll also share that link too so that you can be reminded of the song. And you have Mephibosheth found in 2 Samuel 9. He had a physical disability. He was crippled in both feet. And David invited him to eat at the king's table. And that is a symbol of God's kindness and restoration. Another character in the Bible is Moses, found in Exodus 4, verse 10. He had a speech limitation. He had a speech limita- li- limitation. He was slow of speech and tongue, as you can find that in Exodus 4, verse 10. Now, I can share a little bit about myself that I was like that. I grew up with a speech impediment. I used to stutter, and I would be so introverted, so shy to want to even speak that I would just find a corner um, or find a desk and be in the back if I was anywhere to listen and to sit in the classroom. I would find the back seat where I wouldn't want to say anything because I was so shy. I I was so nervous to even want to speak. And so I want to encourage anyone who is going through that as well, who may have a speech impediment, that you're not alone. Moses, he had a speech impediment. He told God, I'm slow of speech and tongue, as you can find that in Exodus 4, verse 10. And so let me share that with you so that you can have that encouragement to know that you're not alone. So let's see, Exodus 4, verse 10. Exodus 4, verse 10 says, And Moses said unto the Lord, O my Lord, I am not eloquent, meaning that he was looking at himself as not being a good speaker. Neither heretofore, nor since thou hast spoken unto thy servant, but I am slow of speech and of a slow tongue. So slow of speech can mean not being able to talk, not not able to share what's on your mind in a clear way for someone to understand. Not being able to use our mouth in a way that people will be able to hear us, and so that's difficult for a neurodivergent person who is nonverbal to be able to share anything, and so the more you work with that individual with their limitations through their disability, they can um, they would be able to, by God's grace, have the inability through their disability because someone cared enough to show them how. And I know in that aspect too, being able to show them how, that takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of, you know, thinking and seeing what other avenues, what ways they can be able to help. So I know that's a limitation too. But you know what? I am very optimistic. I before was pessimistic, but and now I'm optimistic that with God all things are possible. God still chose him, so Moses chose him to lead and provide Aaron, his brother, to help him, showing God's provision and patience. And I've seen where any neurodivergent um, individuals that have autism, they have siblings that they really rely on, and it's very hard if that person, if that sibling moves away or um, that they kind of have that sense of loss that they won't be able to manage on their own or even with their parents' help. And so my heart goes out to those families because I often think about my own uh, as they get older. And so God will provide. I strongly believe so. Another character that I like to share with you from the Bible is Paul, found in 2 Corinthians 12:7-10. He spoke of a thorn in the flesh. What does that mean? Thorn in the flesh. Well, let's read that. 2 Corinthians 12:7-10. Does that mean that's actually a thorn from a flower? Um, a thorn poked in the flesh? Well, let's see what that means and from a figurative way of looking at this verse. So 2 Corinthians 12, 7 to 10 says, unless I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of the revelations, there was given to me a thorn in the flesh, the messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I should be exalted above measure. For this thing I besought the Lord thrice, that it might depart from me. And he said unto me, my grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. And so that would mean that when we have our struggles, our physical or mental struggle, God said, my grace is sufficient for you, showing that his strength works through our weaknesses. And I have two more Bible characters that I'd like to share with you, and then I'll close soon. In Mark 10:46-52, we have blind Bartimaeus. He was physically blind, yet he cried out in faith and was healed by Jesus, a powerful example of both literal and spiritual sight. So he was literally blind, but when Jesus healed him from his blindness, he had that spiritual sight that that he, that he can have the faith that Jesus was a light of the world, light of his world. And lastly, the man born blind, found in John 9. Jesus said his blindness was not due to sin, but so that God's works could be seen through him. And so I hope what I've shared with you have been a blessing to you, as it has been a blessing to me to share. Um, this tip is a bit longer than my other one, and I'm glad I decided to do it here live. This way, I can take my time to share it with you, and and feel free to share if you feel that it's beneficial to share. Thank you so much for your time with me, and may the Lord bless you and keep you and make his face to shine upon you all and give you peace. Thank you, and God bless.